And here I am, 3 days into the launch of my this YouTube series, Your GenX Big Sister. And I have had a loose idea of what I wanted to talk about. A long list of topics, many of which have been inspired by what I've been seeing happening in my timeline on Threads, just things that we're talking about, things that are important to us. And 3 days in, and my agenda and my topics are already like thrown out of the window because of world events. Um, and it, if you're like me, I've been spending the last many years trying to figure out how to navigate life in the face of how things are right now in the world and in my country specifically, the United States. And so I woke up to the news that we bombed a country and kidnapped their president. I'm not going to get into the details, the complexities, everything that's involved in that whole in I'm not going to get into the details of the politics. That I know for sure. Um, what I'm going to talk about today is a little bit about my own personal relationship with my home country, the United States, and how it's really been cracked wide open and scrambled and um, just turned upside down, etc. Um, so long story short, growing up in upstate New York as a middle class working family, like daughter of a, working class family, white female, um, my my recollection of how I have always felt about the United States was with an immense amount of pride, an immense amount of love and appreciation, but probably more so pride than anything else. I really believed that we are the best country on the planet. Um, I believed that we were free in a way that no one else anywhere else was free, that we had such immense freedoms. I understood because, like, when I was a little girl, it was like right in the midst of the women's rights movement. So a lot of things haven't come to fruition, but there was a lot. I think, I feel like I remember optimism, assumption that we would have all the rights and freedoms that we always wanted to have. And that the world was open to me. Like I definitely got the message from my mother and from my parents, that, I could do anything my brothers could do, and that the options for my life were wide open. Um, Side note, I've mentioned before, there was like a little disclaimer to that. The assumption was marriage and kids would be a part of that. But the good news was, but you could have so much more, and there's so many more options and paths and everything open to you now. Yay, exciting. And what I knew about my country and what I knew about our history, I thought we were the good guys. I thought we were the good guys all the time. Even like our founding information, our founding history, um, and how we came to America. Like as a little kid, I really did think that we were like saving the land and the Indians were savage, so we were civilizing them. I don't know. I don't know. My general feeling is I thought we were the good guys. I thought this was an amazing country. I thought that everything that we built obviously was something that nobody else had built. I had an immense amount of pride in that. Um, and to be honest, didn't think that much about it as I got into my later formative years, teens, early adulthood. I was so trying to figure out my own shit that I wasn't political. I didn't really follow things. I don't even remember when I actually started voting. I know I didn't start voting at 21. I don't remember when I started. So I was very much focused at home. Now, in hindsight, I recognize the privilege in that and the fact that I was safe enough and cared for enough and had enough uh, rights and had enough possibility and enough support and enough resources that it was a luxury to not have to be concerned about it. Um, and I mean, I've been political on and off in my adult years, but it really uh, came to a head in the 2016 um, elections and around that time. Um, because it was hitting close to home. I was suddenly not liking the way things were being portrayed about how our country felt about women. So like I started to think, oh, okay, so we're not that great. Um, and then in 2020, being on lockdown and with everything that happened with Black Lives Matter and um, the whole woke movement, I mean, that term woke applied to me exactly, because I literally like woke up at that time. And I've done previous episodes on my podcast about my journey in terms of the race relations aspect of everything, and how that played out for me personally. So I have shared the details of that previously. Um, but again, in general, about my own country, at that time, going into the 2016 elections, I identified as a Democrat. And I even at that point, I didn't necessarily think that our country were the good guys. I specifically got to where I thought that the Democrats were the good guys. And that, we were we had like the real American values and all that kind of stuff. Um, so I felt that way. When did I stop feeling that way? I'm not, I don't know. I think it might have been slow over time, but I absolutely remember that when Roe v. Wade was overturned in the Supreme Court, um, that was like phew, cold water splash in my face where I suddenly realized the Democrats are not the good guys. And the reason why that thought, I mean, because I was so angry, and I was so angry at my own party because they had had 50 years to protect women and do something about it. But this is my opinion, in my view, they kept the argument alive because it served them. It was in their best interest. And the more that I started to think from the aspect of we've got people in power that they're just trying to protect a very small percentage of us. Once that lens started to shift, I started to see that frickin' everywhere. And it definitely became clear to me that our country has become, it's the 1%, ruling it, and then the rest of us. And the 1%, whether it's left or right, they make decisions based on what's going to keep their power, keep their wealth, keep their control. And if that means keeping all of us divided, keeping all of us distracted, keeping all of us arguing, keeping all of us angry all the time, that's what they're going to do. Um, and it like 2016, it really affected me emotionally really badly. I got really depressed in a dark place for a long time. And then when like last year when we reelected the current president. Um, all I knew was that I couldn't be in the world in the same way that I was before. Because the way that I was before, during the entire 4 years of that administration, is I lived my life with this big black cloud over me, um, and big black smoke in my lens as I looked at the world. Um, and it was a struggle to, it also coincided with like a bunch of things I was going on personally and then into the pandemic and all of that. But I realized I was doing no one any good. I was angry. I felt helpless. Um, I probably did a lot of online ranting and raving, not a ton, but a good amount. Um, and that wasn't that wasn't that wasn't helping the situation, and it wasn't helping me. And so this time around, as of last year, I I've been working on finding a different way to move through my day-to-day life. I talk to friends in other countries and they're like, God, it must be so terrible there. It must be awful. And my truth is my day-to-day interactions and most of my day-to-day is not horrible and awful. And again, I got to put a little asterisk disclaimer. I am aware that my privilege protects me to a degree, and it makes it easier for me to live a quote unquote normal life, or live a happy life, or whatever, regardless of what's happening out in the world or what's happening in our government. I understand that. Even, there's a lot of issues that touch close to home, but if I'm going to help, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that I I decided that I was going to help by helping my community, by helping the people that I love, by helping the people that I'm connected with, by having conversations with the people that I interact with on a daily basis, trying to have trying to have like good, decent conversations with people who disagree, with people from various backgrounds, trying to understand and really listening to other people. Um, to get perspectives, to get educated, to figure out what actions make sense, but to do it more on a personal community level. That I wasn't going to be able to engage on a global level. It's just not who I am. I wasn't going to be able to uh, drop everything and go to a different country, or, be protesting all the time out in the streets, or any of that. And still feel guilty about that, though. Like, I feel guilty that I'm not doing those things. Um, but I decided that I needed to just keep talking about what I believe and hope for, and talk through things with the people that I interact with. And I've definitely been on more of a spiritual journey to, if I can keep my vibrations high, and if I can influence the people in my direct sphere, and as a collective, if we're able to raise the vibrations, it will expand, and it will trickle into, there'll be a ripple effect to other areas, and that's where you get your global impact. All of this to say that waking up this morning to the news of what my country has done was a little bit of deja vu, in terms of I immediately felt that dark cloud starting to move in. I tend to really love the beginning of a new year. I get really, really excited about it. I just love the feeling of a clean slate. I love a feeling of wide open opportunity. And that gray sky rolling in with what's happening, I felt it. And I felt my mood and my emotions immediately react to that. And I've had to just take a step back. I've had to journal. I've had to connect with um, who do I want to be at this time, and how do I want to impact this world, impact the people that I love, and then beyond the people that I love. How do what do I want that impact to be? Which means I need to be the best version of myself in order to do any of that. Um, so that's what's on my heart today. I've recently been seeing a lot of content out there from peers, people that I know very well, and people that I don't know at all, talking about getting the hell out of Dodge, that the best thing for them and for their um, emotional mental health was to leave America, was to leave the United States, was to move abroad. And a lot of people actively doing that. Um, and the more I listen to their stories, it does trigger me because, there's a part of me that wishes I could do that. And I shouldn't say could, because I could. I absolutely could. I do not want to leave this country. Um, and again, that comes from, my experience of this country is different than those who have been oppressed to much further degrees than I have. I do understand that. Um, but I also, I can't permanently be that far away from my family and the people that I love, which is why the nomadic lifestyle is what fits for me, that I can be far away for periods of time. Um, but for lots of different reasons, I don't want to leave now. So that leaves me with, what do I do? Am I going to be angry and enraged all the time? Am I going to become a full-time activist and go into politics, which is not my strength. It was not my path, passion, or my heart. So no. Or am I going to work to be the best person that I can be and have as much influence as I possibly can and do what I need to do as a responsible, good citizen? Um, I I know this is a tricky topic, uh, everything that I just talked about, and I know that everybody has very different experiences. For that reason, I would love to hear your comments. I would love to hear how are you feeling about the US right now? Are you feeling, and are those feelings severe enough that you want to leave? Um, and if you do want to stay or you need to stay, what are you doing to live a life, a good, full, impactful life while these things are going on in the world? I'd love to hear from you.